DUNE could have been Jodorowsky's big break, his chance to enjoy the luxuries of a huge budget, his ticket to mainstream respectability. But the director seemed to have other things on his mind, approaching the project spiritually, mystically.
DUNE is much more than a science fiction novel. It deals with themes like the creation of a messiah, the ascension through different levels necessary to dominate over circumstances which are harmful to humankind. There are also the themes of a search for eternity, for superior mental powers, drug addiction, and basically of loneliness. It's the story of a man who develops his mind enough to reach a summit. But once up on this summit, he has lost human contact. To find human contact again, he has to try and bring all the human race up to where he is now. All the messiahs we know, from Buddha to Christ, had to face this question. As for Harkonnen, I saw it as a vision of contemporary man, a vision of a world where nothing is sacred, where man is born in a dustbin, where the whole world is garbage. Being an ardent adept at karma yoga, I am interested in the work I do, but not in the result of this work, neither good or bad. So, I deeply enjoyed working on DUNE, and for me, anyway, the film was made.
One of the first members of Jodorowsky's DUNE production group was the British sci-fi designer Bodd Fosse. Jodorowsky was absolutely thrilled with my book, 20th Century Fosse, and out of the blue, I got a phone call asking if I'd like to work on a film in Paris. I was specifically brought in to work on the hardware, and I might add that there is not a lot of hardware in DUNE. But by the time Jodorowsky and I had finished with it, there certainly was quite a lot of exotic machinery. I was allowed a flight of fancy. It was a very personal film. Jodorowsky had taken quite a personal interpretation of the book, and we were all allowed, within his parameters, terrific leeway. No budgetary restrictions whatsoever. It was a designer's dream. Hey! One of the last to jump on board was H.R. Giger. The Swiss artist first heard about Jodorowsky's DUNE through Bodd Fosse, an American painter who was a friend of Salvador Dali. Dali was to play the Emperor in DUNE, for a reported salary of $100,000 an hour. Dali met Giger and looked over his portfolio. It was Dali who later passed it on to Jodorowsky, and interested in what he saw, asked Giger to join the group. It was Giger's task to design Harkonnen Castle and the evil planet Caracas.
Harkonnen stands on rising ground, a sort of hill, and consists of jagged bones and excrement which slowly crumble into dust. More bones and excrement are continually being ejected by Harkonnen, which crumble and are swept away by the eternally raging storms. A sort of staircase leads up the hill to the castle, defended by spears built into the bones on either side of the entrance, which have an independent existence and often impale citizens just for fun. The castle itself, a symbol of intemperance, exploitation, aggression and brutality, with a magical aura which has a negative effect on all the inhabitants, is egg-shaped and mostly buried in the ground like an iceberg, which shows only a tenth of its volume. Harkonnen hides its evil deep inside. The body of the castle swivels on a circular track like a gun mountain and is surrounded by a bottomless trench some 70 meters wide. The only link with the outside world is a drawbridge, which can be lowered like an enormous penis to admit visitors. The main gate is only an entrance, never an exit, for it has barbs like shark's teeth, which prevent anyone from turning back. The two walls of the drawbridge can be brought together hydraulically, crushing visitors who are hostile to the castle. The enemy's remains are scraped off by so-called wall cleaners when the bridge is in the raised position and fall into a conversion plant. Harkonnen is a gigantic moloch which functions by converting living beings into energy. Every visitor is materially or spiritually exploited as artists for this film project. Whoever enters the castle stays there for the rest of his life, which in any case can only last a few seconds. The belly of Harkonnen is a gigantic, senseless, gothic, empty space in which corpulent beings swing through the abyss on their suspensors or suspenders. The thin, plump external skin is supported from inside by a bone-like structure in the form of gigantic vertical plates. The egg in the desert, a symbol of futility and seclusion, nothing but a fragile, empty sham. Opposite the entrance is the ejector system. Here from time to time, but particularly during attacks, gigantic quantities of charred bones and shit are hurled into the surrounding area, accompanied by thunder and fire. The head of Harkonnen is a gigantic defense installation designed to protect the castle from both land and air. The face section at the front of the body can be lowered mechanically, revealing a fortified skull which spits death and destruction, and in the top of the skull is a landing area for flying machines. The whole head can be raised or lowered in order to aim it at the target. The upper arms of Harkonnen contain conversion plants, while the lower arms contain more defense installations against attack from underground. And that, gentlemen, is Castle Harkonnen.
Princess Nula, the Magician, the Dirty Shorts Cowboy, the Emperor of Blood, Space Jockey, Priest. Huge spaceships like Crustacea hanging in starry vaults of existential dark. Frank Herbert meets James in corporeal blood and thunder. Vast plumes of charred bones, shit and smoke are thrown out from the funnels of Harkonnen. 70mm gauge film, an overlong space opera masquerading as the Black Night of the Soul. Baron Harkonnen, King Darley, resides and holds court over freaks, monsters, bestial sex animals for his perverse amusement. He draws out sketches for the film Jodorowsky's Dune and Geiger Before the Roof Fell In. The worms are infinitesimal, microforms that live in the skins and tissues of the guild members, feeding their nervous systems with the addictive spice. This eventually mutates their bodies into super beings able to jump the hyperspace. They grow cute latex body units with monstrous appendages. Sandworm eggs are sought through tons of sand. The egg in the desert, a needle in a haystack. Huge mining machines sift billions of tons of sand in search of worm eggs and spice.
Chinga, chinga! Chinga, chinga!
Papel, 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 papel. Salvador Dali, Alejandro Jodorowsky. Both begin quarrelling. Momentum for the film begins to slow down. The production money of Michel Sardou disappears, ends abruptly. The film goes belly up. Film dies.